Okay, let's walk through problem number 3 from chapter 4 homework. And the first thing to point out is that what we are doing is presenting our adjusted trial balance data into 3 formats. We're going to look at an income statement, a statement of owner's equity, and also a balance sheet. So we have all the information that we need right here on the page. And the key here, the challenge with this problem is finding out how and where all of these accounts end up on one of these 3 core financial statements. So let's take it in steps. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color code this, and I want you to, if you're watching this, pause along the way if you need to. Okay, the next step is let's think about what is included in each of these financial statements. We have the income statement, which is revenue minus expense. And that gives us net income, right? Then we have owner's equity. I'm going to just highlight that as OE, the statement of owner's equity, and we're going to be looking at capital. And of course, if we're thinking about capital, we have to also think about net income that's added. Okay, so I'm going to put net income here, and then also anything that we've taken out, any drawings. We also, if the facts allow for it, we also would have investments. This particular problem does not have investments, but at the end of the day, we're looking for ending capital with the statement of owner's equity, okay? Finally, we have what's called the balance sheet. I'm going to abbreviate that with B/S, and that is a summary of assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. So once again, we're going to have this ending capital, which is going to come over here and be later into owner's equity. So a key thing to note here is that these 3 statements interlink with each other, okay? We have net income, which finds its way onto the owner's equity statement. And then we have ending capital, which finds its way onto the balance sheet. So we have to do these in order, and that's why the problem presents them in order. So we have all the accounts we need, and this is like putting together a puzzle, okay? So let's start out first with identifying the income statement accounts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color code this. I'll use purple for income statements, okay? So where are my revenue and expense accounts? Well, if I look here, I can see I've got revenue here, right? And then I've got my expense going all the way down here. So this is what the data I'm going to need for my income statement, okay? Now let's look at owner's equity. I'll use a light blue for owner's equity. Now we have capital, okay, and drawings, so that's here, right? Owner's equity. Now notice we're also going to have a net income amount, which is going to come from the income statement. So I'm going to put a little kind of asterisk here and just have an arrow that I'm going to need some information from the income statement that's going to go into my statement of owner's equity. Now last but not least, we have the balance sheet. Let's use green for the balance sheet. And I'm going to need my assets. All my assets are here. I'm going to box the assets first. Now notice, accumulated depreciation we learned, I just want to make a note here, this is actually called a contra asset. But so it's always going to have a debit balance. It gets paired with the assets that's being depreciated. So we're gonna see this in the balance sheet that these 2 amounts are going to be paired together to give us the net value of the equipment. But we would still say accumulated depreciation is part of sort of the asset presentation in our balance sheet. Now we also have, so we just did assets. We also have liabilities. So let's kind of block those off. Our liabilities are here, notes payable, accounts payable. We also have interest payable down here. Now, it's down here presentationally because it's kind of linked with the interest expense, but this would be a liability. So we've got our assets up here, our liabilities here, and another liability there. So what we've just done is we've sort of visually kind of blocked off which accounts are going to fall into which statement. Now, the next step is going to be presenting these accounts and their respective balances in the standard format that is required with income statement, owner's equity, and balance sheet presentation.